This is where we watch wrestling off the beaten path. I am Cyrus, and I am accompanied by our good friend of RNC, Marc.
I'm a little bit confused, Cyrus, on what the hell I just watched, but we are going to get into full detail with that today. So that I am very thankful for. And I'm very thankful to be having my first guest appearance on Spot Caller. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Normally when I did started the show, I did want to introduce people into wrestling. I had like in mind I would have other friends of mine that normally don't watch wrestling and stuff like that. But just due to the current landscape of the world right now, a lot of people in RNC do have a lot of free time. So with the NBA, you know, being postponed for God knows when.
Yeah, unfortunately, Jeff and I right now we're staying by the phones, making sure that we don't miss the next call from Adam Silver. He will direct where we go going forward with RSPN. As of right now, we are trying to make sure we don't spend that last check before we don't get anything left from the NBA. Adam thankfully paid us for one last show of RSPN. If you did not check it out on the RNC radio channel, of course. But as of right now, Jeff is celebrating his 2 years of the Lookout. I am going to be hopefully coming within the next week for I Am Not a Genius. But as of right now, we're looking for some distractions from the NBA. And as of right now, my best distraction ended up being Bloodsport.
Yes, we're watching ZONA23 Bloodsport. This show was actually this was filled out on the Google sheet originally. Somebody just added me. It was just like you have to watch. But MFK also on Twitter, a good friend of mine, he just DM'd me. He was just like, "You guys got to watch this show," and I was just like, "Oh yeah, absolutely." And then
did he give any details as to why?
No.
Just said, yeah, like, just go ahead and watch it. I think you'll like it.
He just sent me a tweet, and it's a spot from the women's match that's on the card where she goes through the car window, and he was just like, "You got to watch this." And I was just like, "Why not?" So we're gonna get into it, but sadly, we were supposed to go to WrestleMania, and then the world just fell apart.
Yeah, I think you, myself, J5, that was originally supposed to be our trio that was setting up for WrestleMania 36 in Tampa. It was going to be very fun. We ended up taking care of everything very early, had everything planned really nice. The only thing we had left to do was take over. I think we had everything planned for Wale Mania. And as everything started developing with this coronavirus, of course, in America, I think the worst parts of it ended up being the last parts of last weekend going into this week before we actually started fearing things getting actually canceled. But we were not hoping for a cancellation. We would have much preferred a pushback.
Yeah.
Although WrestleMania in April is WrestleMania not in April is a fairly odd scenario in general. I think we would have taken something like WrestleMania in June or July over not having any WrestleMania at all. But now we don't have any WrestleMania at all. None of the fans that were planning to come out to Tampa are going to be able to do so because they are setting it up in the Performance Center in Orlando. But from what we heard, it's supposed to be something that we are not 100% expecting at all. This is not just going to be something we turn on the WWE Network for and we're just watching a Performance Center show like we've been watching with Raw and SmackDown. So
they're definitely gonna make it a show, but like as you said, like we've been planning this whole thing for months, and like most likely when we were in Tampa, like we probably would have did a Spot Callers with me and Five, and you would have been there, but get you here early since the world has shut everything down. Even like November, we kind of just like had the money ready. We had tickets. December when we linked up in Art Basel, you'd have like, oh, I should have like brought you your Mania ticket, blah blah blah. I most likely would have lost that.
Those
But
three tickets are literally still sitting in the top dresser. When I told you guys in January, I said if something were to ever happen, if I get CTE, I get some type of concussion, if something happens and I forget, the 3 Mania tickets are in my top drawer. And now I might just mail them to you guys now as maybe some
just
type of souvenir,
a
because they're
souvenir would never
unfortunately worth
happen.
$1 right now. So
Oh man, yeah, this sucks. But you know, the whole Corona outbreak is giving us a lot of free. A lot of people are going and doing work from home, quote unquote. So we had the time to watch the ZONA23 Bloodsport. And we're gonna get into it with the first match with Freelance versus Yakuza. Could you tell who's who in this match?
absolutely not. Thankfully, I
Okay.
have the cheat sheet.
Yeah.
Thankfully,
Okay.
I have the cheat sheet of the results, because this was an event that ended up in Mexico around August. So a couple months old, but I definitely used it as my cheat sheet. And thankfully, I used a little bit of my heritage to try and get a little bit of a glimpse of what is going on. I did pretty well. I must say I did pretty well.
Okay, because there's no like graphic or like really like good announcing. Like
Zero graphics, no type of. There's no Michael Cole. There's no Zona 23 Michael Cole. It's mainly just using a lot of your
can you hear
instinct, and yeah,
it?
and trying to just put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, but so I thought this match was a really good opener for what kind of like what we're gonna get prepared for early on in this card. Like I think like the first 3 matches here is like the opening of Dial-It. Like you got the intro, long time, you got RIP, and then you got Lean for Real. Like all these matches are really like the first 3 matches are like really great, and then these other matches kind of like they get really weird.
It ends up getting fairly odd throughout the main half and the second half of the
Yeah.
pay-per-view as well. But you, Cyrus, are a lot more well versed in these types of death matches more than I am. I'm a little bit more domesticated, and I usually stick around the usual amounts of wrestling that one would be expected to watch as far as mainstream wrestling. But I do not dive too far into death matches. So Yakuza and Freelance was a pretty timid opener for me to see what exactly I am prepared to watch for the next 2 hours. Once I started seeing all the light bulbs, I'm like, oh dear God, here we go. And it didn't get as bad. It didn't get as bad as I thought. Thankfully,
Yeah.
did not get as bad as I thought. But it ended up being an interesting outro. A couple Hurricane Ranas where people are getting spiked on their head, which I
Yeah.
jolted up at. And thankfully, Yakuza apparently takes one of these, and definitely, what was it, 3 light bulbs to the head before they actually get back into the ring. Does a Hurricane Rana, spikes him on his head, and gets the 3 count over Freelance.
Yeah. So yeah, basically it just has like all the standard lucha stuff, arm drags, Hurricane Ranas, and just slaps to the chest, and then Yakuza does a J driller or a butterfly power driver, or double underhook power driver, whatever people want to call it now, and then just plants him on his skull. And normally in a lot of matches that don't have light tubes or extremely extreme stuff like this, that's only the first half of the match. That dude's kicking out at 2.
Yeah.
If this was PWG or AEW pay-per-view or some shit, like that dude's
That's
kicking
the
out
first 10
at
minutes
2.
of the match. Yeah.
But Yakuza takes the win here, and then like a really like they're speaking in Spanish, and sorry, I don't speak Spanish, so it's a very just a long promo, which I could just assume he's cutting his ass.
Mm-hmm.
he is barring up Freelance here.
And if you have, I would say if you are going to watch Bloodsport, if you have at least a little bit of an understanding where and especially in my case, I can understand the conversation more than I can actually speak it. So when I can start piecing a little bit of the language that I actually have going on, I can start putting a little bit of piece of two and two together. But it gets a little bit difficult where they start trying to do their promos, especially after this match, and sometimes some of the mics don't work. Sometimes the mics are not as loud. And especially you have a crowd that is highly invested into this pay-per-view where they're literally still yelling completely over the entire promo before we can actually try and get a distinction of what's going on.
What it kind of is that like the mic audio isn't like going directly into like the video feed, you know? It's kind of just playing for the crowd that is there, and then we're just picking up the mic feedback from there. Really, you know, what I do when I watch Japanese wrestling, you know, I can understand body language, you know? I can understand when somebody's being disrespected, like when Freelance tries to pass Freelance the mic and he just drops it on the floor. Like, man's is being green.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Freelance apparently after that drops him and then does his own 3 count in front of the ref. The ref is like, hey, you know that didn't count right. And Freelance walks over to him and I'm like, okay, I guess this is
did something to leave the crowd happy. And I was just like, that was a little weird, but okay.
Exactly. I guess this is all out. Nobody really gives a shit as far as referees at that point.
On this match is at like this pay-per-view is at a junkyard, so like anything goes.
Was it a junkyard? I didn't want to be disrespectful because with my cheat sheet it lists an arena and the arena just says Avenue Lopez Portillo, and I'm like, that kind of sounds like a backyard, but I did not want to be disrespectful if this was the traditional area that usually you get with these events in Zona 23. Of course, this being my first Zona 23 event.
So I actually watched another show that had a triple threat. The women that we'll be talking about soon in this match. It seems like that junkyard, just like where this match is taking place, is kind of like their mainstay, and I think that's pretty cool. Like they have like somewhere to call them home, and like it's as dangerous as it as it sounds, you know. And I wouldn't really expect anything less, honestly.
Oh yeah, the atmosphere, I think, is something that you start taking in as you start watching a lot more of this pay-per-view. You can see a lot of the crowd, and a lot of the crowd is very invested. Some of them standing up, some of them actually sitting in the chairs that are set up. But you will see a large amount of broken down what looks like tractors, vans, cars.
Like cars that get put into a scrapyard or a junkyard.
And those
in the Def Jam stage scrapyard.
Oh, that would be hard. That would be hard because they definitely don't have an arena like this in the E.
Because this is where they're wrestling at.
They definitely had something like that in Def Jam Fight from New York, where you're fighting. Well, I think it was it Scrapyard, the one where they had a little bit of the fire at the side, and then you could walk a little bit into the crowd, and they hand you like a car door, and then you could like swing it at people.
Nah, that's a different stage. But I'm talking about the stage where you got to make sure that Method Man don't get his ass whooped by Busta Rhymes.
Yeah, now I gotta remember. Damn, I wasn't gonna remember Fight from New York storyline.
Oh, what? You
don't remember the story? Is it Fight from New York, or is it Fight from New York, or is it Vendetta, the arena that you're talking about?
It's in Fight for New York. We're gonna get wild off topic,
right? Okay.
But I'm gonna.
We're gonna research that a little bit later. We're gonna research that a little bit later. Let's go to the 5-1 match.
Okay, I'm just gonna send you a screenshot of the stage.
Okay, let me take a look at it.
Oh my god! All right. Stand by your phone. This is it. This is Scrapyard. Hunt Point Scrapyard. This is where they're wrestling at.
Hunt Point Scrapyard. I'm about to start laughing because it's not because of this, but I just saw clean shaved Ricochet, so I'm just gonna try.
Oh my god!
I'm gonna try and keep my laughing to myself and continue with Bloodsport.
Okay, we have the 5-way here. It has Mr. Hardbody versus Phoenix Kid versus Osiris versus Vengeza? Vengeza?
Venganza.
Venganza. My fault. And then Ovette Jr., I believe.
Can you spoil this for me and let me know which one of the 5 had the shirt that says rim jobs and rim jobs and rim jobs and rim jobs and concussions? Apparently, he was not very liked at all by this crowd down in Mexico.
You know, I saw when I was looking at background information to like know who's who. There's just a screenshot of him with that shirt.
So it's a normal shirt of his. Okay.
No, the tweet said nothing else. It's just him with this shirt. But I will probably say that is probably Mr. Hardbody.
MC Hardbody?
Yeah. But no, that shirt did kill me. But this match is wild.
It went into literally 10 different areas that I was not expecting at all in this 5-way match. We brought up the fact that there's trucks and cars laying all over the place. It ends up being one of the oddest uses of these cars probably throughout the entire day.
Oh, yeah. I just like to point out like some of the crazy stuff in this match is that it is like it's kind of like a junkyard or a scrapyard, and then like these wrestlers like get on top of a trailer, and then somebody just does a small package pile driver on top of it, and he just kicks out at 2.
He was just waiting there for like 5 minutes for somebody to actually come up, and everybody else was fighting, light bulbs flying all over the place, drop kicks with light bulbs, and he's literally just waiting until one of the 5 wrestlers actually come up. And I guess he like laid down stomach wise on the trailer until people actually started walking up the ladder and then just started swinging. I'm like, okay, yeah, that was definitely the best method of hiding in this entire match. And then you get the package pile driver.
That man said, "Whoever dies, dies," right?
No, the best whoever dies part was when I guess he stayed on top of the trailer while the other 4 were at the bottom. And he does like a taunt to the crowd, like he's really about to do it, like he's really about to kill it right now. And he flails his arms off the truck and does the crossbody. I'm like, that is the weakest fucking crossbody I probably ever. The flailing of the arm, and then run it back and slow down the flailing of the arms just so you can see.
Yeah, like he does like the Jay-Z dive into the pool with his arms out.
Yeah, exactly. That was definitely Jay-Z dive into the pool, except it was on 4 people and maybe one of them get their hands cut by the glasses on the floor.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then what's crazy, like I know that exact spot, and like right before that, somebody throws somebody off the trailer and they're like flat onto the to the hood of a tractor, and then he does a swanton bomb, and I was just like, that's so fire. And then this man comes out here and does his Jay-Z dive. I'm just like, get out of here.
Yeah, the swanton bomb on the truck. I was just like, oh my god! And then the flailing Jay-Z dive definitely soured it a little bit. The question that I actually did have after that, it appears that I wasn't positive that was actually somebody in the crowd or if that was personnel from ZONA23. It looks like they take care of a lot of their cuts and a lot of their bloods with just bottles of water.
Yeah, the New Japan way. Oh, you cut? Just let's just water that down.
Put some tussin on it. And
yeah. So I know this part. Where somebody gets cut kind of like really bad, like behind their shoulder blade or like, past the armpit kind of area. And then the cameraman just like keeps on zooming in on it like really hard. And I'm just like, why? And then comes on and just splashes some water and then just keeps it pushing. I was just like, I was like, huh? So I did have that same question about like, how do deathmatch wrestlers handle the light tube like shards and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Because on the first episode of Spot Callers, there's a commentator and he like waves lemon juice, like like the lemon juice that's in the container that's shaped like a lemon. with like the green top. Yeah, he's like shaking that and he's just like, don't forget your lemon juice. And I'm just like, do deathmatch wrestlers like squirt that? Like, is it a thing or is it another weapon? You know, like I'm very unsure on like deathmatch aftercare.
That would be one of the most horrific greenest weapons to ever use. While everybody is cut up with shards of glass in their neck, you pour lemon juice on them.
So I'm not really sure if that's a thing, you know. I do have like this thought as well. But speaking of light tubes, Oved Jr. does a light tube assist splash to somebody. I am not sure. I'm going to say it's Osiris. While the ref is holding his hand on the top rope, making sure
I was like, okay, yeah. I was like, all right, what? This is. I guess I really can't, because if he didn't hold him down and he completely fucks up and falls right on those light tubes, it's over.
Like, what's the worst case scenario? But like, yeah, the ref holds his hand and he does a pretty clean splash. It would have looked cleaner if the ref didn't help him out, but he gets the 3 count. And once again, this match ends as it should, honestly. I think if the match would have continued after that, it just would have went too far at that point. Like, what would really put somebody away?
Yeah, once I started seeing them tuck like 3 light tubes into the t-shirt of the rim jobs and the concussions, and then just do a drop kick directly into his face, I said, all right, let's please clean this up. Please clean this up, please.
What's weird a lot about deathmatch is that like the props are never really like, you know, make or break.
Safe?
You know, like well, like they're not safe, but like they're not the reason why you would lose. Like a couple light tubes to the head wouldn't like knock you out and then get a 3 count. You know, like you have to do something wild featuring.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And then the next match, which is honestly match of the card. This match is available on YouTube for free. I highly recommend watching it.
Yes.
Sadik Maiden versus Sadika. This match slaps.
I think the first thing that drew me in when it came to Sadika was just the crowd reaction, and it began with like a couple of minutes of Sadika giving away, I think, 2 t-shirts, one of them being a hoodie, one of them being an actual t-shirt, pretty well designed t-shirts, and the crowd was coming up, getting the t-shirts. I think she ended up licking their face or something of that nature.
It's very like crowd, like it's like an intermission, but very crowd friendly. She is doing like a giveaway and just blessing people in the crowd.
Exactly. I ended up getting really interested in the crowd reaction and just them being very well tuned into everything that Sadika was doing before that match actually happened. It ends up being probably the first 1 or 2 minutes of whistling that you will hear out of the other 40 minutes that are about to happen. So please get prepared for a whole lot of that. But with that ended up coming in Sadik Maiden, that had her own little bit of an intro with a fan of the crowd before Sadika actually ended up getting a little bit frustrated and broke literally a light tube on her head mid-grind for this fan.
Yeah, Sadika kind of just gets fed up, and it was just like, yeah, I want to start this match now, and just cracks her in the back of the head with like 2 light tubes.
That definitely set it off for me.
Yeah, that definitely set the tone for the match. The YouTube version, I don't believe it has that start of it. They kind of just like get into it, and then you know, a couple meteoras, light tube assists, stuff like that. But the match really gets started when they do outside, when they start brawling on the outside, which normally I don't particularly like in my matches, but like here I'm all for it because they do some crazy stuff here.
And I think I ended up underrating my actual cheat sheet throughout this match. My cheat sheet for the match ended up being the results that came from cagematch.net, of course. But what they did was give, of course, throughout the results, they give a little bit of links that you can get through a couple of the more well-known wrestlers that are in ZONA23. And I clicked Sadika and realized that her nicknames are literally La Sexy Extrema and La Más Violenta de Mexico, which ends up being the most violent of Mexico. So
That's
I have
hard.
not watched one, too many death matches. Two, have I not watched too many women's death matches. So when I read this, I said, okay, let's see how violent this can actually get. And that's when we start queuing into the two Meteoras with light bulbs, which were fairly violent. When you compare Sadika and Sadik Maiden, Sadik Maiden is what is the best way to actually describe this?
She's tough.
She's a lot smaller. She's a lot smaller than Sadika is, but can can end up, as you can see throughout this match, taking a very large amount of pain. So when she takes the Meteora with light bulbs, I'm like, oh my god, no, end it right now, please, please.
And she just pops back up.
Yeah, and then it's pops up. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then we get everything that comes with outside.
Yeah, and just before we go to the outside, that's the kind of like stuff that is very weird about death matches. Like when we watched the first episode of Spot Callers, the main event was a 300 light tube match, and then these guys are just cracking it over their heads. Yeah, and they just crack it over the head like it's nothing. And then eventually, there's like all the debris and shards all over the floor. And they literally like start mat wrestling with it on the floor.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that is so fire.
Like getting dropped. Really cool. That ended up happening in the fight. Like they're literally dragging, who was it, Osiris? They ended up dragging Osiris throughout the shards of glass. It's like, please stop. There's glass on the floor. But I guess that's normal.
It's so fire. But here we go to the outside, where things get nasty.
Absolutely, for the lack of a better term.
Sadika takes Sadika Maiden onto a car, and she just power bombs her through the back window of a car, and Maiden neck gets folded.
Crowd goes fucking crazy, and I'm just like, oh dear God, please.
How could you not go crazy?
Please let this be the end of the match. And you start seeing the chants of Sadika. You start seeing everything when it comes to lucha extrema. And what these chants definitely also being chanted by Sadika to try and hype up the crowd a lot more as well. Oh, yeah. Ends up looking really like a fan favorite out here.
Oh yeah, she's definitely a fan favorite here. The crowd is going like absolutely crazy for her, and then Maiden just gets up.
Ate a powerbomb through a car, by the way. Think of how many people you actually want to powerbomb through a car in life and expect them to get back up in 30 seconds.
She shook it off and then just does a code red to the other side of the car. Like these they're going crazy, man.
She hung. The best part was Maiden hung before she actually did the code red, and I'm like, oh please God, don't tell me Sadika's about to take this. And flies literally bounces off the car, flies off the roof down to the side of the floor, and Maiden is just laid out on the front hood of the car.
She hit the code red like Cena does, where there's a little pause, and then she did. That was so fire. I absolutely loved all of that. And then it doesn't stop there because they continue scrapping until they're on top of a trailer, just like in the previous match. And I believe Sadika just gives her another power bomb on top of the
directly on top of the truck.
Yeah. And then she just gets up again. And then she does another code red, and Sadika flings forward and nearly like slides off the trailer.
And I was like, thank God they did not do this off the trailer. If they would have did it off the trailer, I probably would have had to cut it off. I saw
a GIF of another match that they have where she does a Spanish fly off the trailer.
Off the trailer?
I'm about to watch it. Yes, I'm about to watch it after this. But she nearly slides off and then gets like a 2 count. Picks her up and then throws her off the trailer onto the hood of a truck.
Yeah,
and it just does a splash, and I was just like, man, these girls are going crazy.
Yep, absolutely.
No, man, this match is absolutely insane. And once they bring it back to the ring, I don't think it stops there. when she does. Well, she just cracks like some random like car glass that some fan handed her, which was crazy.
Yeah,
And
the
then
car glass part I saw ended up seeing in a GIF before the match actually started, and you actually see it happen in real time. And this is not anything where the car glass bends a little bit or it gives a little bit of giveaway, and Maiden takes it and just drops on the floor in pain. This literally shatters in a million pieces out of Sadika's hands, cracks Maiden in the back of the head. Thankfully, no blood flies everywhere. She takes it, just crunches up onto the ground, and you just see her drop. And this piece of glass, this piece of car glass was probably bigger than she was.
Oh yeah, like okay. Normally in deathmatch, like it's like a square like slab or whatever.
Yeah.
But this is literally like it was like cut to be on like placed inside of a car already, and they just hand it to her. So it's like this weird odd shape, and she just cracks her with it, and just you see like her soul leave her body.
All of this while the fans are still whistling, and apparently we even got a Kulo chant, which I don't know how after you see a Canadian destroyer on top of a truck you're chanting Kulo, but
yeah, going full horn man, even though like
even though they are bloodied up,
will kill you,
flying off cars, and then we're still getting those chants, but men
are trash, bro. But outside of the car spot, the spot that made me like scream is like when she sets up the chair with the light tubes, and then she does the swinging neck breaker off of it,
and they both drop to the ground.
I screamed. No, that went too hard because you just hear the bodies just plop on the floor, you know, and it's just like it's like that hurt. Because
it's a couple feet of a drop of a hit when it comes to especially falling onto all of those light tubes, and again on a spot where none of these give any type of leeway. There's no type of padding. They're literally flying directly onto the light tubes, and they crack. You can hear. I will say, ZONA23 has some really good microphones when it comes to sounds of feet stepping on glass and glass breaking. That I will give them a well amount of props for.
Yeah, and just hearing, I think when watching death matches, I do think like the light tubes and the glass shattering it's like some ASMR type shit. Like it sounds cool. Like I do enjoy the sounds of it, so it just adds that little factor to it. But then just to go into the finish of the match, which I felt like it was a little anticlimactic, but I don't know how these girls could have went any harder. Sadika just puts a couple light tubes in her shirt and then just hits her with a missile drop kick on the back for the 3 count. And I was just like, a little harder than that.
I mean, the way how hard that drop kick has been, the way Maiden, I'm surprised Maiden even got up after all of this. You see the ending, you see the actual 3 count. Sadika gets up. Both of them extremely tired. The referee goes to try and raise Sadika's hands. He kind of shoves him off a little bit and directly goes to Maiden. And they have a little bit of a moment in the middle of the ring, which ended up being very well appreciated, well taken by the crowd. You get a little bit of you barely get a little celebration, chants, and things like that. But again, very surprised Maiden could even stand at the end of that.
Yeah, surprising these two can like even stand up. Sadika is giving Maiden her props, hugging it out. She's raising her arm. I don't know what she's saying, but I'm sure she's just like, that was a good fight. You probably gonna be big things, all that stuff. Like it was a really good moment. It shows like, they ain't hate each other and no shit. And we just go into the next match, which is something. I wasn't sure if this was like a handicap tag match or a fatal 5-way.
Handicap tag?
Yeah, there's 5 dudes in the ring. 2 of them look similar. The other 3 look like they're in a group, and I wasn't sure. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce these names. So I'm gonna let you take it.
We have a Vortex. He ends up winning the match against Cyber Payaso. and Epitafio, Terremoto, and apparently the fan favorite of Toxico, because that was chanted throughout the entire match.
Yeah. This match was very confusing. And honestly, at this point, like Sadika and Sadik Maiden kind of set the bar, you know. And
for the rest
I
of the
will
match,
say,
for the rest of the pay-per-view, I'd say.
Yeah, and these guys kind of fell a little short.
We already have a 5-way match beforehand, and that ended up, based on these results, ended up being a lot more violent and a little bit more confusing than the first 5-way match that we had in between. In the beginning of this actual match, I ended up getting a little bit interested in some of the areas, and especially more the more violent areas. But one area that concerned me a whole lot, and more than likely concerned a whole lot of others, was the gash that was on Tatsuko's back. Closer to the ending of the match.
Yeah, this is another moment where the cameraman just decided to like really zoom in on it as they just splash water. That was really weird.
And he's like, and I'm like, oh, okay, can we cut to something else, please?
Yeah, I was just like, this is like really weird. You should probably be doing this in the background. I will just say, like, the high point for this match for me is like when they're wrestling by the car and they just take turns like jumping one dude.
Yep.
That's why I thought it was a tag match, because they kind of just like gang up on that one guy, and I'm just like, oh, where are the other people? And they're just like on the completely other side, you know, brawling in the crowd, going crazy. But a lot of glasses used. I would say there's a lot of props being used. Like glass and just, you know, like debris and stuff. But like when they start to like wrestle and stuff like that, that's when I think the like match kind of like takes a dive.
Yeah, I think one of the best, to me, one of the best highlights that ended up coming out of that was that area that you were talking about, where they're literally jumping one of the 5 wrestlers by the car, and one of the fans of the crowd actually get so into the match that he starts a really nice ZONA23's chant, and that ends up taking over the entire match as things start getting a little bit more hype. But again, much more violent 5-way match than we had in the beginning of the pay-per-view. A lot more glass, a lot more risky things that are going on with a lot of these elements. But one of the most concerning things was what was going to happen with Toxico after this match is done.
Yeah, which I'm not really sure how to take that. But I will say the first Fatal 5-way, which is weird to have 2 Fatal 5-ways on a card, but the Fatal 5-way, I would say the dudes in that match are a lot smaller. Like I would say they're like the crew size. In this match, there's a lot of heavyweights here, so you get a lot of more like, you know, kind of lucha, quote unquote, like stuff going on there with like Hurricane Rana's arm drags and, you know, Swanton bombs and stuff like that. And here it's just a brawl. It's just a fight.
Yeah, we call it nothing but big hits match. Nothing but big hits 5-way. If you're used to a lot of the matches that we have like these on the E, it ends up being something like this where it's just hard hitting, violent, difficult to watch in certain areas. But if you're used to death matches, it'll be something that is highly entertaining for you.
Yeah. That's all I got for this match. Just like the high point that Sadika Maiden and Sadika like put up is just like, man, this is like a really high bar, you know. And then we go into this next match, and at this point I was just like, this pay-per-view is like going downhill.
Well, thankfully, to get a little bit of cleanup, we got a little bit of natural cleanup. Didn't it start raining before this actual match happened, or was it in between the match that we started getting the rain between the 3-way?
No, it rains like midway into the 3-way.
And they so it was midway into the 3-way. Okay.
Yeah. So there's already debris and stuff all around. And I've been to a live show where there is like a death match or like a TLC match of some sort. The way this guy is cleaning the ring is in the worst way possible.
Yeah, they have a couple Swiffer wet jets, and they're just like trying to get things going, sweep a little bit of the glass away.
But why is he sweeping all the glass into the middle of the ring? Like, I don't get that. You like so like this is probably like insane to like people listening to this, but like when I went to an MLW show when they were here in Miami, and it was Pentagon Junior versus El Parca, and they had like tables and stuff, and there was like table debris on the mat, so they sweeped it outside of the ring. That just makes sense.
Yeah.
Here he's like piling it all up, and I guess he's just gonna get like a vacuum to like suck it all up. But I'm just like, what are you doing?
Oh, shit, there's gonna be some more broken. He's making sure he uses the best of his time. There's gonna be some more to wipe up in a little bit. Might as well just try and get things situated just a little bit.
Yeah, but the next match is a triple threat with Black Terry, Pieta Morgan, and Mr. Condor. This match stinks.
Yeah, this unfortunately ended up getting to be the second half of the pay-per-view that ended up losing my interest a little bit. These three, once you start seeing them come out, you've already seen 4 matches where you have people that are probably late 20s, maybe up to late 20s to around mid 30s that are still doing some high flying lucha libre type of stuff that will keep you highly interested. When you see these 3 wrestlers in a match that is supposed to be labeled as a super libre, they look like they're approaching 60 years old.
Yeah, fit like somebody's like 45 at the youngest, and there, I would say like there is a lot of smoke. Like these dudes like are beating each other up and stuff, but like I guess like since it is raining, a lot of their movements get slower. They're not wrestling on canvas; they're wrestling on like a sort of like vinyl. So when the match, there's a lot of outside brawling, and it's like it's okay. Like these dudes are just like doing forearms and stuff. Like not a lot of glass, not a lot of light tubes are being used and such. And then once they bring it into the ring, they're moving very slow. I don't even know why one of them bothered hitting the ropes at some point. It just looked ridiculous. And I have seen matches in the rain before. I think
be very careful in areas like that.
Yeah, I think about 2 years ago, Okada and Muro Suzuki had a match in the rain for Suzuki's like 20th anniversary or some shit. I don't remember, but they were in the rain and that shit slapped. They're really killing each other. There was like a lot of good shots, they took and stuff. But like here, it's just weird, and it goes into a no contest. And I was just like, all right, I'm done here. And then until like the next match starts, there's like a very long brawl that kind of happens here, and a very long promo that I, sorry to say again, but I just don't understand.
Thankfully, in this case, I was just happy that a lot of these wrestlers that are a lot much older than the ones that we would like to see, especially in this pay-per-view, are taking their time, making sure that they do not do anything that could be anything that is very fatal, especially in this rain. So thankfully, I was not interested by the match at all, but nobody really got extremely hurt. So that was one thing that I was thankful for.
That's what I'm not thankful for, because I'm watching a deathmatch show. I want to see somebody get hurt.
You want to see a 60-year-old get their neck broken because they slip in the rain?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm here for the violence, man. But no, I rated this match like 1.5 stars. I know we weren't doing star ratings, but like that's what I rated it. And I think if this match would have had like a decisive finish, I probably would have gave it 2 stars. But I don't know. It's a long match that goes into a no contest, and I don't know, that kind of not even a draw,
Yeah.
That really bothered me. And then like there was a lot of interference after the match, and I was just like kind of lost at this point. But on to the next match. We have Juan El Rancho, and then
Ranchero.
Oh, man, let me put a little flair on it. My fault.
See, a little bit of flair. I hear it. Juan El Ranchero versus Demoledor.
Demolidor is kicking that ass.
Huge guy. Just
This is a
completely
Haas match.
Yeah, this is another one of those Haas. This is another one of those Haas matches. That you are very used to when it comes to us wrestling in the E, but a very hard-hitting match, not only wrestling-wise, but definitely with the objects that you will see them use. And unfortunately, now that we've had a little bit of the break, now that the rain is done, a lot of the outside and a lot of the areas that were used earlier when it was a lot more sunny are now very, very muddy areas. So now when you start seeing them go into those spots, it's a lot more dirty than you saw beforehand.
Rancho Juan decides, I think this is a good time to wrestle in my all-white fit.
Terrible, terrible idea.
This man comes out looking like a damn rock by the end. Like, this man is dirty. And he's getting smoked for a lot of this match. I wasn't really paying much attention until Juan just like runs up on him and like kicks him. And then Demolitor, I forgot how you said it, but Demolidor. He just gets a wooden plank and just starts whacking him like repeatedly. And I was just like, okay, like my interest in the like show just like shot up after that.
a huge plank to the body. Well, and unfortunately, in Rancho's case, that ends up not being one of the last times we end up seeing this affect a match, and we'll see that a lot more in the main event. But very big smashing of just bad objects all over the place until we actually got the interference at the end. Yeah,
this match definitely should have ended in a no contest because there's a lot of interference going on here, which kind of like pulled me away from the match because I was really into it, and then dude just starts getting jumped, and I was just like, oh, okay, that's
get a little bit of the WCW run-ins.
Yeah,
everybody's jumping in, whooping ass. Yeah, not really a disqualification or anything.
And then he does just a normal splash. I think he like lands on his head, and then that they get the win. And then somebody finally comes out to help out Juan in the post match, and then they just get beat up again.
Just gets his ass whooped again.
Like Did you see when they put the light tube like between his leg and then they kicked him in the nuts? Like, yo,
see, hey, these light tubes. I don't. This is my first exposure to it, so I don't want to wild out. But man, glass to the start of my neck. I'm out for a month. I don't care what I'm doing.
Oh man, when David Arquette did his death match, he had a hole in his neck.
Yeah, nah. And he had to go to the hospital right after, didn't he?
I remember watching that match because I was in LA at the time for Survivor Series, and I was just like watching it in the B&B, and then mid match, David Arquette just goes, "Yeah, I'm done," and just walks out, and he just like has a hole in the neck.
Just walks off of that.
I was just like, oh man, yeah, he got it like real bad. But like here, like, hey man, if I'm getting beat up and you gonna help me out, don't get beat up too.
Definitely don't get glass at the nuts. If you get glass at the nuts, I can't really guarantee a whole lot of things. Can't really help you in certain departments. So that is probably the most concerning part that I will say.
Yeah, can't go to the club no more with you. But and then just the next match, there is a TLC match on the card, but there is not a table ladder seen at all.
And this ended up being around the time when I was watching the ending of the single match between the Demolidor and Ranchero. I was starting to look at the time because I started looking at the time, starting to calculate in my head. Okay, we have the title match between Joe Leader and Draco. How are we gonna, unless this TLC match is like 5 minutes long, which is going to end up being probably a very violent TLC match is going to end
Mm-hmm.
up being that long. I don't think I'm going to be able to watch 2 matches in the next few minutes because I only have a few minutes left in the pay-per-view. And the TLC match doesn't happen, and it just goes directly into the title match.
Yeah, it's just not on the show, which is insane. There's chairs, but they ain't no tables nor ladders. I just don't know what to say about it.
We'll probably have to find it somewhere else. Apparently, people have been having trouble trying to find portions of this match, or they're finding it in portions, I should say.
Okay.
But from what I've seen, it ends up being some of the better rated matches that are on the card. Unfortunately, we just can't see it.
Yeah, which is really weird. If I like had the time, like I would try to find it, but just whatever. I think I can go without.
Yeah, hopefully Fly Star and Toxin was very fire. Maybe we'll find it. Yeah. One of these matches. If it ends up beating Maiden and Sadika, then
no.
More than likely it's not.
Because cage match, that is the only match that is recommended.
Yep.
Like that match is very well regarded. But now we go into the ZONA23 Extremo title match. It's a barbed wire match where the barbed wire does not matter. Versus Draco and Joe Lidor.
Yep. It ends up barbed wire ends up being one of the least concerning things that you see out of this title match. But the one thing that I was interested in, especially before the match actually started, was taking a look at the actual title, the ZONA23 External title. Yeah, I took a look at it before the match actually started. This ends up being the main event, so of course a very important title when it comes to this when it comes to this faction. And not faction, why did I just say faction? But when it comes to ZONA23, I looked at the belt, was a little bit concerned that the Velcro that was on it, but outside of that, decent looking title.
I think the gold plates and stuff, I think it's hard. I think it's a really good title.
Yeah, the front of it, when you see it, it's a well put together championship, especially for this organization. But I feel like from what I saw, it could have been a little bit better with the Velcro.
It's not like they're going to be selling those replicas anytime soon.
I mean, shit, listen, I don't know. They might be able to. They might be able to. I don't know if you do it with a little bit. The leathers might need a little bit of working on. I think the Velcro might need a little bit of working on, but after that, who knows? They might be able to sell some of those.
I think the only belt that I would want from a company that is not WWE is the IWGP Intercontinental title, the white leather joint from New Japan. Like, I just think that belt is so fire. But New Japan is selling that for I think for like 2,000. No,
the fuck.
Yeah, I'm good.
For a replica?
Yes, I'm good.
Wow.
Boy, they better be giving me the belt straight off of Naito's hands, boy. I'm not paying for that.
Yeah, I mean, I know WWE has the replicas that are $400, and then if you really want to, when we were in Orlando for Mania, we went through Access, and you actually saw the replicas that were a lot more authentic, and those were the ones that go for like $1,000. But those were either signed or those were, they looked really amazing and really worth $1,000 if I truly wanted the authentic championship belt in that manner. The $400 ones end up looking amazing anyway, but
yeah, they look
taxed? Hell no.
Yeah, 2 stacks, hell no. But back to the match here. The barbed wire is a joke, and these guys the barbed wire is basically it's kind of like wrapped along the ropes here, and then about 15 seconds into the match, somebody runs the ropes voluntarily to do a token. No selling the hell out of that barbed wire. Nobody runs the ropes and go, ooh, ow. Like, that man just said, oh, I'm gonna get him, and just runs the ropes like the
Runs the
Usos.
ropes and still, yeah. If you're expecting your Mick Foley 1995 type of thick barbed wire, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, I was just like, that is so weird. Like, you know how like wrestling, like was it like how the Canadian Destroyer used to be like a finisher now? Like the barbed wire used to be something that was feared a bit. Now it's kind of like watered down.
Oh yeah, when you saw Cactus pull out that barbed wire 2x4, you knew for a
Yeah,
fact that
you knew
that
what
shit was about to go. Or if you saw Chainsaw Charlie grab some shit like a damn barbed wire chainsaw and that shit starts revving, you knew for a fact to run for your fucking life.
Yeah, but like here, barbed wire, whatever. But
Yeah.
I would say like this is probably this match is like really good. Like they're brawling, they're wrestling, they're certainly as hell killing each other.
Mm-hmm. Well worth the wait for the main event here.
Yeah, I think you know, the card kind of slacks a bit after once you get like the three old men, the Haas the singles match. It's good, but it gets a little weird, and then the long post match, and I think it's worth it when you get to this point here. Like I think this match is like it's just really good. I think it's really good wrestling, and it's really good deathmatch wrestling. There's props being used. Like I don't like it's really good, but there's not like a lot I can really say.
The area that will end up scaring you the most, I would say, is we get another spot out in that same area that we had in previous matches by the trailer, by the trucks once again. We've already seen a Swanton bomb off it. We've already seen a stage dive off it. But now between Draco and Joe Leader, one of the two tries to throw each other off of the trailer and directly into the truck in ways that we saw twice already throughout the show. But both of them end up going flying and hit the truck so hard that they fly off the truck, hit the ground, and the crowd that you see that's out there is highly entertained, while some faces look very, very concerned. And the next couple minutes that you actually see is personnel, fans taking both men and literally peeling them off the floor and trying to get them back into the ring so that we can actually get a finish. But I don't know. I mean, we don't have any commentators that will actually confirm anything, and they might not confirm anything in general, even if we had commentary as far as concussions or anything like that. But both Draco and Leader looked really, really out of it after that fall.
Yeah, it gets really bad there, and then they kind of like they kind of get it back together. I know for sure, like that spot being whiffed or planned, God knows. It did leave them a lot winded, but I do think they bounced back pretty well. And I didn't write down the finish, which is bad on my part.
Well, we get a lot more the ending with the unprotected canvas. So now, I mean, it was a fairly unprotected canvas to begin with, but now the areas that we have are now all complete solid boards, and they end up going to the top rope. Draco does almost like a spine buster off the top rope into not only multiple light bulbs, but again, you have no protective padding on the mat at all. So Leader hits his head directly on the floor along with the light bulbs. You get the 1, 2, 3. Draco still your ZONA23 Extremo champion. But as Draco is a little bit onto the side, trying to catch his breath, very, very strong match to try and recover from in real time. Leader is laid out on the floor, and there are multiple people that are trying to help him out, trying to make sure that his head is straight. I mean, after a match like this where you get dropped off a truck, get dropped off your head, more than likely you're going to have some damage. More than likely you're going to have a concussion. But they stay with Leader for a couple of minutes before we actually get the ending promo from Draco. Very similar to Sadika, where he says out here in ZONA23 after that match, "You are a friend of mine," which ends up getting a little bit of a pop from the crowd. Leader raises his
Wait,
hand.
how you know that?
Again, if you have a little bit of if you can put two and two together, if you
No,
can put
because
two and two together with your Spanish.
because I asked you yesterday, how good is your Spanish? And you said, not good at all. And you were able to piece that
It's
together.
decent.
Nah, you capping.
It's decent. I mean, that the ending line that you get from Draco,
Oh
I
my
think
God.
if you are fairly decent in Spanish, you can put that together.
I guess,
It gets
I
a
guess
pop from the.
I guess I'm complete trash at Spanish.
I mean, if you
Oh
hit
my
the
God.
you didn't hit the Spanish 1 through 3 in high school.
Hey, chill out.
If you hit a little bit of that, yeah, if you hit a little bit of that, you can get it. Thankfully
Oh my
for my ancestors, they were able to provide me a little bit throughout the ending of that match. And leader Draco have a little bit of an embracing at the end. Leader holds his hand up. Of course, Draco's still your Extremo champion. And people start walking off, start being the end of the pay-per-view, and that's what we get. Ends up being a
Yeah.
very violent main event. I mean, fairly violent. I mean, I am not the most exposed to death matches, as I've already said, but ends up being something where maybe I'll watch another one.
That is dangerous words, Mark.
Possibly I'll watch another one. This is probably a very mild pay-per-view. This is probably a very mild pay-per-view compared to some things that I can watch. So maybe I should watch my words before I actually say them.
We'll be seeing you on Spot Caller soon. Don't worry, I got some.
Oh dear God.
we got a long year if we make it there. So
yeah. So now we had 2 weeks to wait for WrestleMania. Now we have to wait until WrestleMania in LA. So now all of the smaller indies and all the other shows that were supposed to be setting up for Tampa, of course, they'll be setting up something very amazing for Los Angeles in 2021. So now I'll have to wait a year for that.
Yeah. Well, that's Spot Callers. This is fun. This is great. I'm glad to have you on the show. Like when I had Robbie on the show, that was really nice. It's nice to get other RNC people on just to do the show. It's really nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're God knows how long the NBA is going to be closed down, but
yeah, we'll have to keep an eye out for that, especially me and Jeff, as we start hopefully being able to have a better ending to season 3, or maybe we'll be able to just cut into season 4 if things don't end up happening, because a lot of players now are getting tested. Well, results are not coming back as far as them getting tested, and a lot of them are coming back with coronavirus. We ended up getting the first NFL case with head coach Sean Payton on the New Orleans Saints. So the NFL is going to end up being affected by it as well. But it's something that a lot of the sports world will just have to wait for.
Like nobody's exempt from corona, but
exactly.
You know, we have a lot of stuff on our RNC channels. We have the RSPN channel, even though it's postponed indefinitely. We have the Lookout channel. We have the RNC Watch channel, where late fees and recalling Saul is happening. Did I say Lookout already? The Lookout with Big Eyes. The Lookout, Mount Silver as well. Just since the last time we got together on Spot Callers, a lot of the channels have been divided. But if you just want to see Spot Callers of the A Show or the War Report, we got our own spot at A Show RNC, I believe is the name.
Yep, the A Show on RNC. A lot of our feeds are looking nice and beautiful now that we have left the hellhole that is SoundCloud. So make sure that if you are tuning into a lot of our new channels on RNC, you can see all of it in full detail, full color. All of that will be set up on our Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and things of that nature.
If there's shows that you want us to talk about, please hit me up on Twitter, H_visibility. My pinned tweet is a Google form that you can fill out and just let us know what you want to see. So far, there's a lot of lucha stuff going on. We're going to be watching I think for a lot of this year, there's going to be a lot of luchador. I guess just like a lot of Mexican wrestling stuff. I guess that's what's missing in the wrestling podcast world. Not a lot of people talking about lucha libre, so that's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay.
We were supposed to be doing another show next, and then the link that we got for the show was just the match. So that's why we didn't do probably the show that I said we were gonna do last week. I mean last month, but it is what it is. But Spot Callers, we'll be seeing you next month. Thank you, Marc, for being here. A lot of RNC stuff is happening since everybody is in quarantine and working from home. So content out everywhere.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you having me.
No problem. And broadcast. And broadcast.